Northeastern City District. Morning. The Waterworks building is not hard to find. Hannah had the address from the grid map reference. The parallel line symbol in the northeast quadrant corresponds to a specific block, and when you know what to look for, the building announces itself. It's the kind of structure that has always been there in the way that civic infrastructure is always there. Present, functional, unremarkable, until it isn't any of those things anymore. 3 stories. Brick, the older kind, handmade, slightly irregular, the mortar between courses darkened with a century of weather. The windows are boarded, the boarding recent enough that the wood hasn't warped yet. A chain-link fence runs along the street side with a notice attached. Decommissioned 1989, structural survey pending, no unauthorized access. The notice is laminated. The lamination is yellowed. No survey has been conducted. Or, if it has, the notice was never updated. The device is running at its elevated baseline, the same rate it's held since the pre-registry site recalibration. No acceleration yet. The building is present in the system, but we're not close enough for it to respond to us specifically. I told Hannah to wait while I walked the perimeter. The parallel line markings are on the north face. I almost missed them because I was looking at the wrong height. I was scanning at eye level, the way the crescent marks at 47 Marginal Road were positioned. These are lower, set into the brickwork at approximately knee height, running along the base of the wall in a band about 30 centimeters wide. Not painted, not applied to the surface. Cut directly into the brick, the lines incised with the same precision as crescent marks. Same depth, same clean edges, the kind of work that was done when the building was constructed, not added later. The pattern, 2 parallel vertical lines, repeated at regular intervals along the band, separated by a consistent gap. The repetition continues around the corner onto the east face for approximately 3 meters, then stops. I called Hannah over. She crouched beside me and looked at the band without touching it. She ran her eyes along the length of it, counting the repetitions. She said, "It's the same register as the crescent marks. Functional, not decorative. These aren't ornamental." I said, "No. They're structural the same way the crescent marks are structural. They mark something about the building's relationship to the system." She said, "A different relationship, a different node type." I took out the device, held it close to the marking band without touching it. The interval dropped, not dramatically, a measured response, the kind the device produces near significant material rather than near a threshold. The markings are archive infrastructure. Confirmed. The fence had a gate on the east side with a padlock. The padlock was not locked. The shackle was through the hasp but not engaged. Either someone left in a hurry or someone wanted access to remain easy. We went in. The interior is dry. That was the first thing I registered. The smell of it. The quality of the air. Outside it was overcast. The coastal damp that sits in this part of the city for most of the year. Inside, still, cold, dry. The kind of dryness that takes sustained effort to maintain in a brick building. The kind that comes from something actively keeping moisture out, or from the building's position relative to whatever is underneath it. The ground floor is a large open space, the original pumping room, I think, from the scale of the floor anchors where machinery once sat. The machinery is gone. The anchors remain, heavy iron rings set into the concrete, arranged in rows, the concrete around them stained with the outline of whatever was bolted there for the decades the building was operational. No catalog drawer room, no ledger shelf, no brass fittings or step markers, no crescent-numbered door frames, nothing that matches the node structure I know from 47 Marginal Road or the origin site. Along the far wall, wooden shelving, floor-to-ceiling old construction, sturdy. The shelving is full, not of documents in the archive style, not loose papers or catalog cards or ledger books. Instead, packets. Oilcloth bundles, each bound with cord, each roughly the size of a large book, stacked on the shelves in rows that go back further than I could see clearly in the available light. Dozens of them, perhaps more than 100. Hannah moved to the shelving while I stayed near the center of the room and listened. The building was quiet. No sound from above, no sound of movement. If someone else was here, they weren't moving. I joined her at the shelves. The packets are labeled. Each one carries a small paper tag, tied through a hole punched in the oilcloth binding, the tag written in a language I don't recognize. Not a language I can place, not a European script, not anything I can identify a family for. The characters are consistent across all the tags I examined, which means it's a real language or a consistent constructed one, not random notation. I photographed a selection of tags. I'll try to get a translation later if any reference exists. Hannah worked along the row, reading tags, occasionally lifting a packet slightly to feel the weight, setting it back. Then she stopped. She said, "This one." I came to where she was standing. The packet she indicated looked identical to the others, same oilcloth, same cord, same approximate size. The tag was the same format. But below the unreadable text on the tag, in a different hand, in English, someone had written a translation. Added later, the ink was a different color, slightly faded but legible, the handwriting less formal than the original tag text. I read it aloud. Listener anomaly, Case 7. Do not process through standard registry. Hannah said quietly, "Case 7." I said, which means cases 1 through 6 exist. This node has been tracking listener anomalies for long enough to reach a 7th case. She said, "And you're Case 7. I looked at the tag, at the English translation, at the instruction, "Do not process through standard registry." I said, "I don't know that yet." She said, "Open it." The oilcloth binding came apart without resistance. The cord was old, the knot had loosened over time, and the oilcloth itself unfolded cleanly. Whatever was inside had been protected from the damp by the wrapping and by whatever kept this room dry. The contents were in good condition. On top, a single sheet of paper, folded once. I set it aside without reading it. I wanted to see everything before I read anything. Below the sheet, a photograph. I picked it up. Standard photographic paper, black and white, the contrast of mid-century processing. The image is exterior, a building, daylight, a figure standing near the entrance. The building, the train station, the decommissioned municipal terminal from Season 1. The platform entrance, the brickwork I spent weeks examining, the door at the end of the platform that key 47 does not fit. I recognized it immediately and without doubt. The figure, standing near that door, partially turned away from the camera. Similar height to me, similar build. The face is not fully visible. The angle of the shot cuts the face at the edge of the frame, leaving only a partial profile that is not clear enough to confirm identification, but is not clear enough to rule it out either. The clothes, a jacket I do not own, trousers with a cut that is not contemporary, shoes that are not mine. I turned the photograph over. On the reverse, a date stamp printed, not handwritten. The format is standard archival dating, 1962. I have not been to the train station in those clothes. I have not been photographed at that location in 1962. I was not alive in 1962. Hannah was watching me. She had not come to look at the photograph yet. She was watching my face. I held the photograph out to her. She took it. She looked at it for a long time without speaking. Then she said, "That's the platform door." I said, "Yes." She said, "And the figure?" I said, "I know." She looked at me, at the photograph, back at me. She said, "You're Case 7. I stood in the dry cold of the waterworks building, in a room that had been storing this photograph since before I existed, and I didn't argue with her. I looked at the sheet of paper I'd set aside, still folded, the rest of the packet still on the shelf behind me. I hadn't opened the folded sheet yet. I hadn't touched the other packets. There were a great many other packets.